Andrew.
Hello, this is Robert Clotworthy.
Yes, it is. How's it going, man?
Pretty good, and you can hear me just fine?
I can hear you perfectly. How do I sound?
You sound great.
Cool. So how did we find each other? Was it through Facebook? Is that what happened?
Twitter.
Twitter. Oh yeah.
I got you. I found out that you were following me shortly after I had posted a feature about StarCraft 2.
Oh well. See, timing is everything, right?
Yes,
Hopefully it
it
was.
is.
Hopefully it was a good article that you posted that you were happy with the game.
I said some very flattering things about the character that you play.
Oh, cool, cool. You have to send me a copy of that so I can see it, or at least
Alright.
tell me where I can find it.
Oh, you can find it at the website that I write for, which is gameroni.com.
Okay.
And I guess I'll just start asking you some questions if that's okay with you.
Sure. You're down in what, San Diego?
I'm down in San Diego,
Yeah, okay.
and I guess I'm interested in. I know you've done quite a few interviews. It seems like you like to do interviews, and I wanted to
Yeah.
know kind of how it all started with Jim Raynor. Like how I've heard a little bit about how you started with voice acting, but
Right.
how did you land the role of Jim Raynor, and how did that
Um,
happen?
yeah, I mean, it, th- obviously it was a long time ago. It was back in, I guess, 97 when I recorded the stuff for the game initially, the first game. And as memory serves me, I had a friend of mine who was working for Blizzard at the time, and I guess that he had recommended me to Chris, and I, went down, auditioned for, I don't know if it was only Jim Raynor, maybe a couple of other roles, but Chris cast me as Raynor. We went into the studio and did a handful of sessions, and to be honest with you, I essentially forgot about it. After that, it was I'd never really done a video game before, had no idea what it was going to be like, and it was only several years later when I was working on a soap opera show called Young and the Restless, where one of the, I guess, people that work on the show, I think it was a cue card guy, happened to mention the game, and I said, "Oh, I play blah 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 in the game," and he was shocked. And at that point, I realized something's going on here. I should do a little research, a little investigating, and that's when I discovered how immensely popular the game had become. And that's, I guess, that's kind of the Reader's Digest version as to how I got involved. It was basically an actor auditioning and getting a job. Nothing more dramatic or exciting than that, other than that I do recall the session pretty well. I remember, working with Chris, and Chris showing me his original artwork that he had drawn up for Raynor and describing a little bit as to what the story was all about. And worked a little bit on vocalization for the character, and locked into something that he liked and I felt comfortable with. And I guess the fans kind of took a liking to the guy.
And it sounds like at the time you had no idea how big that would become. I guess how did that affect
Yeah,
your career and your life?
my joke is that when people ask that question, I say, yeah, I remember very well sitting down with Chris and mentioning, this game is going to be huge. It's going to be enormous, especially in Korea. Uh, no, obviously nobody could possibly anticipate that the game was going to be as popular as it has become. And I think it's a testament to Chris's vision and Blizzard, the way they, I don't want to say marketed the game, but uh, the way they created this fan base, this ability for people to join together and play the game and not be in the same room. It really took the game to a whole nother level, where now people could compete with friends and people that they met around the world, and it created this amazing community about the game. And the storyline is so rich and so solid, and the characters are so interesting and approachable and identifiable that I think the fans just really locked into it. It's like any good story or film or even a song. You can listen to that song or read that book or look at that movie over and over again, and you're never really going to tire of it because there's always something new to discover. And I think that Chris has really created something that that allows that opportunity. Plus, when people play the game, they tell me it's like playing chess. You're really never playing it the same way twice. So it's constantly challenging and intriguing. And you know, they didn't dumb it down for the fans. They created a game.
Absolutely not.
No, they created, and I think that was kind of unique at the time. It showed respect for the fans, and it also challenged them. And these are a lot of the intangibles that you may think about, but how often does it really connect with people? And this game just absolutely connected. Obviously, the timing was right as well.
It's great how it really goes across genres too, because I have a lot of trouble with the depth that you've mentioned, but I always come back every few years, even after now that StarCraft 2 has been released, to the original game, just because of the story and the characters. And I wanted to know, I know you've been asked this one before, but like, what is your take on Jim Raynor? What is it that resonates with people? And since I know you've been asked this one before, I want you to tell me, what is it that the writers bring, and what is it that you bring to the character?
Well, it's interesting because when I work on the game, especially this last one, we as an actor, you don't get to see the entire script. I mean, it would be pretty much impossible. It would run, I'm sure, thousands upon thousands of pages long. So when we show up, plus we're also working in a vacuum. We really don't have the opportunity very often to work with one of the other actors in any particular scene. In this new version of the game, I actually have had the opportunity to work with Trish. I'm talking about the new one that's coming out, whenever the next one comes out.
And she played due for 2012.
Yeah, she plays Kerrigan in the game, and they actually brought us in to work together on some scenes, and that was a lot of fun, but also very unique. So as an actor, you go in there really kind of flying blind. So you have to trust the creative people. In this case, it's Chris, to explain what's happening at any particular point in the story. And then you have a great director like Andrea Romano, who I think has won 8 Emmys directing animation and different video games. And she's a marvelous working with actors. And they're able to tell you essentially what's happening in the scene, what has happened in the scene prior to that, and what's going to happen. So you get a sense as an actor of understanding where you fit into the story at that particular time. So obviously, it's very important that the writers create a good story and a great character arc for Raynor, and I think they've really done that. As far as my particular take on the character, Chris Metzen describes Raynor as the last honest man in the universe, and that's a great place for me as an actor to begin, to understand that this is what is at this man's core, is his honesty, is that his belief in the truth and what is right, and to do what is right. He can't avoid the truth. He can't deceive himself into thinking something is better than it is. He's very honest in his, not only his attitude and his approach to things, but his understanding of things. Chris also describes the game as a Western. As far as the theme is concerned, it's more akin to a Western than something else. It's like a Western in outer space. So when you think about that genre, that character as being the last honest man in the universe, you get a sense of where he fits into the grand scheme of things. And you start thinking about classic characters that would be in Western. Who are the heroes? and you start breaking down Raynor, and I don't know if you've studied mythology or the story of how characterization is developed in stories, but Raynor is essentially a reluctant hero. He's obviously the hero of the game, but he's very human. He doesn't want. I said, did I just say humid?
You did say humid.
he's a very moist man. That's the core.
That's what you bring, huh?
That's what I bring. I bring wetness to the character. But what threw me off here? So
he's very human.
He's very human, which means that he's heroic, but he's not a superhero. He's fallible. He's got weaknesses. He's got he's vulnerable. He loves deeply. He's been hurt, immensely in his life. And he's the kind of guy that really just would like to be left alone. He really doesn't want to go out and save the universe. But if no one else is going to do it, he's the kind of guy that's going to step up to the plate. And these gives me starting points as to where this character is coming from. It also gives me a touchstone, so to speak, as to where I need to be when I'm performing in a particular scene. And then you add to that Chris, who's going to keep me honest, and Andre Romano, who's also going to tell me, whether I'm conveying the truth or not in a particular scene. And it's difficult as an actor to blow it at that point. I basically have to not get in the way of all the great work that has preceded my involvement.
Well, I'm sure it wouldn't be what it is without all of you together.
I think so, and and also on a personal level, I take the responsibility of playing Raynor very seriously, because he's a unique character in games in that he's somebody that people can not only admire, but they really like the guy. They see him as a friend, and he's the kind of guy who would be a great friend to somebody. If you got into trouble, he'd be there to back you up. And he's not out for himself. He's out for what's right, even at the expense of himself. And you see that. And I credit Chris and the writers for allowing that vulnerability to be shown. And I think that's one of the things that the fans really resonate to. And they identify with him, and they go, "Man, I wish I could do that." So he's a great kind of a moral, I don't want to say an idol, but he's a great moral example for people.
One of the things I really remember about the original game was how he really impressed the Protoss, and you have these several hundred-year-old beings who have very strict codes of honor and very rigid ways of thinking, but they very much respect him, and
right.
That I feel that says a lot about the character.
Yeah. I would agree with you 100%. I mean, he's unique in that, and I think the respect that the Protoss showed him is as a result of that. But at the same time, man, the guy will hit the bottle. He smoke too much. Gets a hangover. He's not sure that what he's doing at any given time is exactly the right thing, but he's determined to make it work. And you know that he's kind of flying on the edge of the seat for the most part. He's kind of winging it as he goes along. He's a good strategist, but he's not. Nobody's sure that it's going to work, and that's part of the thrill about going with the guy, is that it's not like you're hanging out with Superman where it's all going to work out as long as the guy isn't step in front of some kryptonite.
I'm sure he's the one who has to take the pressure, knowing that it might not be able to work.
Yeah, and he's a leader. He's been put into that position, and says, okay. I didn't want this position, but all right, I'll do it if you want me to. So it's great, and it's great fun to play him as well. I mean, he's certainly not a one-dimensional guy. And that's what's really interesting and challenging as an actor. So when we go into the studio to record, we'll have a line, and the line may be something along Tychus, what have you done? Now, without context, you have no idea what that means. Did Tychus just bake me a birthday cake and surprise me with something sweet? Or something else? So when I go into record it, I'll do that line like 3 different ways.
It could be a question or an exclamation.
Yeah, it could be just a question. It could be, I'm upset. Could be one of surprise. And generally out of the 3, one of them will be right. And if it's not, they'll say, Robert, he didn't bake you a cake here. And I go, oh, okay, now I understand.
So they leave you with a bit of mystery there.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do, don't they? They're good that way.
Maybe they're just toying with you.
Well, I don't know what happens. One of the things that I really enjoy about going in and doing the game is that I don't know what's going to happen prior to the session. They don't give me a script in advance that I can work on. I actually, even if they offered it to me, I wouldn't want it. I really prefer to discover what's happening while I'm in the studio. As an actor, it gives me something else to work on. If the scene takes an interesting spin that I hadn't anticipated, then all of a sudden I think, well, how am I reacting? Wow, I'm surprised. And I'll think, maybe let's add a little bit of surprise to Raynor, because that's the truth of how somebody would react in a situation like that. And, Chris and Andrea give me free rein to explore and try different things as well.
So do you think that having some of the surprise, yourself experiencing some of those emotions firsthand, allows you to better put it into the character?
Oh, absolutely. Bottom line is I'm a fan as well. And, I really enjoy the game, and I really enjoy the story, the ride that we're all going on with StarCraft. So absolutely, part of the hopefully a little bit of that joy that I'm feeling as Robert Clotworthy actor going in there is coming through into the character as well. I'm just kind of channeling it through Raynor. So there is a passion there. I'm not just an automaton that's going in there and speaking lines and they have no meaning to me. I really try to discover and understand what's happening in any particular scene, what the relationship is between the different characters, and honestly convey, the truth of the emotion in that scene, whatever it might be, whether it's just, getting pissed off at Tychus or, saving Kerrigan or whatever it might be, or just getting a little bit drunk. I mean, whatever it might be. I don't take a drink when I'm in there, but I'll think back of, okay, when have I been really depressed? When have I, found solace in the bottom of a bottle? Because we've all been there. We've all been depressed, happy in our lives. And as an actor, I'm not afraid to go to those places where you are vulnerable. And when I go in there to work on this character, I try to leave everything in the booth as an actor. I don't want to be driving home in the car and think, oh, I should have done this, or if Raynor's going to cry, he's going to cry. I mean, I'm not afraid to go there. So his character demands it, and I think that I owe it to the fans and the people that play the game and invest so much time and money into it to give it 100%, to give it everything I've got to make it as good as I possibly can. And that's my goal when I go in there. Hopefully I get close to that when it's all over and done with. People will say, yeah, you did a pretty decent job.
Do a very good job.
Oh, thank you.
And I want to kind of shift directions a bit and
Sure.
talk a bit about some more stuff in real life, as opposed to the game itself. Back in 2008,
Right.
it was actually announced that you were not returning as Jim Raynor.
Yep.
And I know when I first heard this, I was disappointed, and I even lost some interest in the game.
Yeah.
But we all know that this story has a happy ending, and I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about what happens and how you felt about all this.
Well, yeah, I will. I mean, people have asked me this in the past, and I haven't gone into great detail, but I'll tell you a bit about what it was like. First of all, fortunately, as an actor, I get to work quite a bit. So, I'm not like pining over each and every job that I audition for. And as an actor, you generally lose more jobs than you get. But as I had a greater understanding and appreciation for the impact that Jim Raynor had on people and the game in general, this was one of the roles that I really, really wanted to do. And not just because it is a job, but because I really wanted to share and be a part of the experience that is StarCraft. I felt that in 97, 98, when I first performed the role and, it was just a job, I missed out on all this experience that was happening around the game. And I thought, man, I don't want this to happen again. I want to take advantage of this opportunity. And, I obviously through the grapevine and through my agents heard that they were auditioning for Jim Raynor, and I obviously sent in my auditions for it. And I think it was a couple of times I auditioned for it, and they basically said, "Sorry, we're going in another direction. We've moved on, and thank you very much." I was contacted by different, not fans, but people that had websites and asked me about it. And I was honest and said, well, this is what's going on. And the fans kind of created a little bit of an internet buzz about the fact that I wasn't coming back along with Glynis.
Yeah, I can attest to that myself. I'm looking at some old pages. One of them says, "You can't replace this guy."
Yeah, but it was interesting. But as an actor, I also understood that, hey, it's business is business. Things happen the way they happen. And all I wanted was basically to give it my best shot. And, I was told, sorry, but, we're moving on. Then out of the blue, I get a call. My agent, and I have to credit my wonderful agent, Becky, over at Sutton Barth Venari, who kept resubmitting me. Every time the specs would come out and say, we haven't found our guy yet, please don't submit the same people, she would resubmit my auditions to keep me up front. And finally the people at Blizzard said, well, why don't you let's have a callback with you, an audition with you. So they actually brought me into a studio out here in Los Angeles, and Andre Romano, the director, was there. Chris Metzen was there. A bunch of people from Blizzard were there. And I went in, and I guess it was about half hour, 45 minutes, did quite a bit of stuff as Raynor. And at that point in time, I felt, well, I've been given my opportunity. I went in there, I did my thing, and they know what I can do, and I've got to let it go at this point. Everybody was straight up and honest with me and said, here, let's give it a shot. And I had literally, in my mind, let it go at that point. I said, well, whatever happens, happens. And I didn't give it another thought. Then I get a phone call, I guess a couple of weeks after that, saying that I do have the role. And of course, I was excited. And the first session, Chris was there, and he sat with me and he goes, we all of us understood how important the game is to people, and the imperative here at Blizzard is they want to get the game right. And they said we needed to go through the process of seeing who was out there, what was out there, what the possibilities were. And then at the end, we realized when you came in at the end, we realized that Raynor just walked into the room, and that we were, we had to go back home, but we had to go on a long trip before we appreciated how nice home was, essentially. And for me, it was very emotional. It was very honest and very heartfelt. and very appreciated the conversation that he had with me because I understood completely. And as an actor, it was also very satisfying because I got the part the way an actor wants to get a part, not through connections, not through, somebody pulling strings. It was basically through auditioning and getting the part and being selected. And so that's kind of more of the story I've told than I've told anyone in the past as to how it went down. But it obviously has a very, very happy and satisfying ending.
I think they made the right choice and the smart business decision.
I appreciate that. I think so too. But and the feedback that I've gotten from the fans has been very encouraging, and I appreciate everybody's support during that time. But listen, it's kind of like Raynor's experience. You gotta battle a little bit. And I got emails from people who were really, really depressed that I wasn't coming back, and I felt like I had to talk them off the ledge a little bit. People say, "Don't give up the fight. Don't give up," and I understood why people were saying that because, that is really the soul of this character, and I didn't give up, and I did fight, and sometimes you win. You don't always lose. So it was very satisfying. And I also understood that and truly believed that I didn't think there was anybody out there that was going to really care about this character and what it meant to people and the fans as much as I do. Yeah, they could have brought in some star, somebody to play the role, but it would have been somebody showing up and doing their thing and getting out of there, and you never see them again. They're just there to get the paycheck. For me, it was much more important than that. And again, I really respect the fans and the game, and feel honored to a great extent to have the opportunity and the responsibility of playing this role. Because it means a lot to a lot of people.
It does.
Yeah. He's a good guy.
Raynor?
Raynor's a good guy.
Okay.
Chris Metzen is a great guy. I mean, he's a really, really interesting, very approachable, very down to earth, very talented guy. And I've spoken with many times and traded emails back and forth, and let him know how much I respect the character and the work that he's put into it, and appreciate the opportunity and the responsibility of playing this guy. And it's fun to meet the fans. I mean, everybody that's I've encountered, except for one person, has been really, really great, really nice. There was one guy.
Sounds like a very memorable person, though.
Well, it was weird. It was, I've started to get into, Facebook and Twitter to kind of expand the fan base a little bit and let people know what's going on. I think, people tend to enjoy that, and the feedback has been really positive. And there was one guy who wrote me an email or a Twitter or whatever, a tweet back, and said, if the universe has a bright center, you are in the corner furthest from it.
Ooh,
I thought, wow.
Yeah, you can't get too much meaner than that.
Well, it's interesting. My first thought, I just wanted to,
It's a bit of a euphemism, but it's...
Yeah, I wanted to...
You can't get much meaner.
I wanted to tear him a new one at first, but then I thought, no, I'm going to go kind of spiritual on the guy. So I said, how would... Raynor would have just
What would Raynor do?
He would have kicked his ass a little bit, I think. But I said, all pain comes from unfulfilled desire and expectations. That was my response.
Some very profound thoughts.
Yeah, I went Buddhist on him. And then I unfriended him or unfollowed him or tweeted him, whatever it
Oh,
is.
he was following you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's gone.
Wow.
He's out of my life now. You kidding me?
Never again.
I cut him loose.
I wanted to ask you a question about Heart of the Swarm, to the extent that you're allowed to reveal details about that.
Okay.
But basically, Wings of Liberty obviously changed kind of the way it told the story compared to the original games. You know, you're
Right.
aboard the Hyperion, you're initiating conversations with other characters as Raynor, so it's very Terran-centered, very
Right.
centered around Raynor himself.
Right.
And I was just wondering how your role is going to change now that the next episode is going to be from Zerg perspective, and presumably it's going to be a little bit different in how it tells the story.
Well, the story moves forward in the next chapter, the next game that comes out. It's not a rehash of the events that have already happened, just from a different perspective. The story moves forward. New events happen, and I've only worked on it a couple of sessions so far, and I'll just say the story goes in some very interesting and unexpected, yet very satisfying ways. This is a saga. This is not a story that's going to be over in just a chapter or two. There is a lot happens in the world that these people are in. A lot happens to Raynor, a lot happens to Kerrigan, a lot happens to all the people that we're involved with. So it's as the story. I think the fans are really going to dig it. I mean, when I saw what was going on, I thought, oh my goodness, you guys have really, this is great. I love this. It takes some very unexpected turns and very emotional turns, very thought-provoking turns. It's very deep. It's not just one of those cotton candy kind of stories at all. There's a lot of happening, and again it's not going to be a story that's going to be resolved in the next chapter, because this is a saga. This is something that is going to be ongoing, and that's what's exciting about it. It's just not going with Raynor on one adventure and it's over and done with. No, this is going to be the story of what happens to him and these people around him, and what everyone's ultimate fate is going to be. I guess we'll discover that at some point. But it's going to be a while. I think they're doing 3 games initially. This is the
they announced it as a trilogy.
Yeah.
The next one is Heart of the Swarm, and the third will be Legacy of the Void.
Yeah. Heart
of the Swarm is due out in 2012.
So they say.
So they say. That I'm sure.
That probably seems about right. I mean, I'm just guessing, because they obviously don't tell me. All that they tell me is that, and honestly, they put the games out when they feel they are ready.
As long as it's not another 12 years.
I don't think it'll be that. I think they have a little bit more of aggressive game plan. And plus, the first one took longer to make because they had to recreate everything. Now, essentially, the template is there, and they can kind of plug in the pieces, so to speak, and they don't have to do as much work in subsequent games. At least that's my minimal understanding of how all that works.
Yeah, I'm not an expert myself, but I'm sure they have a lot of the programming done. It's more additive than
But I have seen
from the ground up.
I have seen quite a bit of the new cinematics for the next game, and that was one of the things that Trish and I worked on together. Was because it's this deals with a lot of the relationship of Kerrigan and Raynor, and what happens in the next chapter of their life, or lives, I should say.
And speaking of things moving on,
mm-hmm.
How do you envision life after James Raynor? I mean, you've got at least 2 more games, and who knows what else they'll announce, but eventually I'm guessing that there will be a time that will come when you will no longer be James Raynor. And what do you see?
Man, you are one depressing guy. The thing is, it's I'm one of those guys that I I tend to live in the present because I want to appreciate what's happening now. I think that if you're living in the past, you're going to be depressed. If you're thinking about the future, you're going to be living in a world of anxiety, worrying about what's going to happen. And you tend to miss the experience that's going now. For right now, this I'm going to be working on Raynor for quite a while. I mean, this is going to go for at least a few more years, I would imagine. And what Blizzard has planned for Raynor and the Raiders and all that is, maybe they'll expand beyond just the existing in a video game. Who knows? There's all kinds of rumors and things that are floating around out there as to what people want and what might happen, and who knows. Obviously, at some point, Raynor and I will part. It's good. It'll be fine because it's the responsibility that I have as an actor is to the story, and once the story is over and done with, once the story's been told, the story's been told, and it'll be one of those great memories and experiences that I had in life, and people will continue to play the game. It'll be like being an actor in a film. Do they ever really, is John Wayne really dead if you can turn on the TV and see him on any given day? So the character will still be there. Will still be, he'll still exist. He'll still be, what's the word? He'll still be, oh, God darn it. He'll still matter. So,
still resonates with me.
Exactly. That's the word. He'll still resonate. And, as an actor, I've done literally thousands and thousands of different jobs. So what'll happen after I do Raynor? I'll be doing something else. I'll get another gig. I mean, I've got, right now this is a crazy week. I've got 3 different shows that I recently worked on that I guest starred on that are all popping up on the air within the same week. I did Mentalist that was on the other night. I've got Big Love that I guest starred on that's on Sunday. I've got a show called The Defenders that's on the following Friday. So, I'm fortunate in that I'm one of those busy guys that gets to work a lot. I'll miss being Raynor, but so I'll show up to conventions. I'll be Raynor in a wheelchair.
I like your.
Remember, Raiders roll.
I like your answers, and certainly didn't mean to depress you.
No. It's
trying to cover some new ground.
No, I'm glad you are, because it's something that everybody thinks about, but it's as actors. If you ever go down to see actors on a set, half the time they're on the telephone, talking to their agents, trying to get their next gig set up. so as an actor, it's part of the world that we live in, is that we don't really, nothing is permanent. It's not like you get a job and you're going to work for a corporation, you're going to be there for 25 or 30 years. Every once in a while somebody gets on a TV show and it goes for 8 or 10 years, but that's the exception as opposed to the rule. I mean, for the most part, you're working here, you're working there, get a week here, a week there, a couple of days. At the end of all of it, you look back and go, oh, wow, I can't believe I did, 2,000 shows.
Do you think you'll do more games? Because, unfortunately, most games are not like StarCraft and...
Yeah, I've done quite a few, and I continue to audition for games. They're, obviously the roles are nowhere near as complex or long-lasting or impactful as Raynor is. But you can't expect everything to be like that. How many great books are written in a year? How many great movies do they make? It's not that many. So whenever you get involved in something that is really good, I think it's important to really appreciate it and understand it. Because these things, it's like in Rome when the emperor would come back on his chariot after winning some great battle, and the crowds were cheering. They had a guy that would stand with the emperor in the chariot and would whisper in his ear while he was getting all this adulation that all fame is fleeting. And it's true. It won't last forever. And you have to understand that and not expect it to last forever, because it won't. But what you can do is appreciate it when it's here. And that's certainly what I'm trying to do. Because I'm telling you, think about it. Who wouldn't want to play Raynor? I mean, isn't he like totally cool? I mean, come on. He gets to do all kinds of great things. He kicks some ass. He's a great guy. Come on. This is like a dream come true to be able to play this guy. It's so much friggin' fun.
I'm glad you enjoy it that much.
Yeah.
And I think I'm gonna get to probably my last question.
Sure.
Just what advice would you give to people who are interested in breaking into the voice acting industry, as far as resources, expectations, places to be? Whatever you have to say about that.
Okay. It's a great question, and it's one that's asked quite a bit. I actually have taught a lot of voiceover students over the past few years, and I'm not the kind of person that likes to piss in anybody's Cheerios in any way. So I don't really like to judge or evaluate talent, but I will put it to you this way. I mean, we got this question asked to us a couple of years ago at BlizzCon, where all of us were up on the I guess on the stage with Andre Romano and Chris, and Andre Romano, who has tons more experience and awards than any of us will ever receive. She basically said, there's always room at the top. And it's true. It's a very competitive, very challenging business, especially in voiceover, because you really can't hide behind anything. If you're working on camera, if you're attractive enough or quirky enough, you'll work, whether you're a good actor or not. I mean, we've all seen people that are stars or celebrities in TV shows or movies.
And they're pretty.
And they're pretty and they suck, right? So you just go, this person's a terrible actor, but they keep working and they're making millions of dollars. Well, they've got something that the public wants, and it may be the look overrides everything else. In voiceover, obviously the way that you look is irrelevant. And also what happens when you're doing or working in voiceover is I guess the senses, the auditory senses or the different senses that come into play for the audience are quite different than when you're watching a TV show. You're not seeing anything. You're only hearing something. So it's really and when people speak and your eyes are closed, listening to them, you can really detect the bullshit. So, and the mic, as I like to tell the students, is the microphone is a great BS detector. You have to be really truthful. You have to be really honest in how you feel and be able to convey that. In other words, you have to be a very, very good actor. If people think that to be successful, people think that if I can talk, I can do voiceover. Well, talking is important in voiceover, obviously.
But anybody can talk.
But just about anybody can talk, exactly. But the people that work in voiceover, it's a really small group of people that are doing the majority of the work. And the people that do the majority of the work generally have really, really strong acting backgrounds. They've studied with a lot of different people. They've been in theater on Broadway. I mean, you name it. These guys have tons of practical acting experience. And then you have to take that acting experience that, takes quite a while to develop. And then you have to place that in a medium where it's a very subtle medium. The microphone is incredibly subtle. So you don't have to do very much to really convey a lot. In other words, when I'm in the studio, or like, for example, Neil Kaplan, who plays Tychus, he has that great line where he says, well, hell, it's about time, right? Well, people want him to do that line. But what he has to do it properly is he needs to get really close to you. He needs to put his lips almost against your ears so he can say that. Now, when you're looking at Tychus, you don't think that that's what's happening. But he needs to be able to place that deep in his chest. And if you're putting out a lot of volume, your voice is going to tend to rise up in pitch. So he's got to be able to get really low in his chest and then can do it very simply, but has the emotion attached to it, which is not easy to do. And so a big part of it is also experience in front of the microphone. So you have to have good acting chops. You have to be able to then take those acting chops and translate those into a medium where it's really subtle. It's even more subtle than film acting. On a stage, you can be very presentational because you're in front of 2,000 or however many people it might be. But in a microphone, you're almost like you're eating the microphone. Oftentimes, you're that close to it, and it's they'll have us do stuff where it's just a little bit of a sigh. When I'm talking to Kerrigan at the end of this first game, I mean that's a quiet moment. It's a very personal moment between the two of them, and when it's a personal moment like that, you have to just speak as if the person is just inches away from you. And it's a challenge as an actor, because a lot of actors come in there and think you need to just kind of shout it. But what Andrea said when she says there's always room at the top, what that means is if you're good enough, if you've got what it takes, and you're willing to put yourself out there, and you're willing to basically, open up your chest, spill out your guts, and let it all hang out, you will be successful in voiceover. Because one of the great things about voiceover is that they do appreciate talent, and talent will not be ignored. Now, if you just have a modicum of talent, if you're just kind of average and okay, we're all full up. You're not going to get a lot of work. But if you're really, really good and willing to invest the time and effort in getting better and studying the craft, you will get your shot, guaranteed. I mean, that's the way, because everybody here is nervous about missing the next great talent. And, I have friends that, I was talking to Tress MacNeille the other day, who's she's on The Simpsons and Futurama, and Rob Paulson, who's he's won his Emmy, and I mean they're all talented actors, and you got to think that, hey, I'm competing, I'm auditioning against these kind of people. What am I going to do that's going to make them hire me over one of them, because they want the gig just as bad as I do. So I know it seems like it's a little scary thing, but it's very demanding, and when you are able to make it, it's incredibly satisfying. But it's challenging. It's not impossible. It's just that it's challenging. It's not as easy as a lot of people think. Every once in a while, somebody gets lucky. Somebody just kind of stumbles in, they don't know what the heck they're doing, and they just, all of a sudden they get a national commercial and they're making a bunch of money. But are they going to be able to sustain that? That's the challenge. Anybody can get lucky and, hit a home run every once in a while. But are you going to be able to have a career? Are you going to be able to have something that's going to last you for 20, 30 years? I mean, I've been doing this a long time, since I was 15 years old. And honestly, I'm having more fun now than I did when I was a kid at 15, when it was, and at that time it was just a party, right? Because now I have a greater.
Sounds like you're very satisfied with your life.
Well, in acting, it's a lot of fun to get to a point of where you're. And I feel I'm just starting to kind of scratch the surface a little bit. That's one of the things that's interesting about it, is that the challenges are always popping up. There's always something new, a new challenge. So it's always there's always that fire that burns, that you want to, for me, that I want to get better. I want to learn more. There's this hunger, this desire to get better and better and better and better, knowing that I'm not there yet. And the challenge is, waking up every day and kind of doing it, going for it. And it's incredibly satisfying and gratifying when you're able to do that. So I remember, many, in the past in my career, I wasn't working so much at one point when I was a kid, and my agent says, "You're not having any fun." And I thought about that, and I went, he's right. I'm taking it too seriously. A lot of actors think they're, saving the world or something. You see all these actors here in Hollywood, and they've got this angst and this pain and this pressure and, of learning and this and that. And you think, who wants to work with this person? Their life is too painful. What we're doing here is really, I don't want to say it's meaningless, but it's not that difficult if you think about it. Basically, we are, as adults, we have the opportunity of playing in the sandbox. We're playing make-believe. I'm not digging a ditch in a hot sun. To me, that's hard work. I'm not working in an office 9 to 5 with somebody over my shoulder crunching numbers. That would be challenging. That would be difficult. I'm not a brain surgeon. My hands aren't that steady. I mean, that, to me, would be difficult. Acting should be really easy once you really think about it, because that's why kids are often really, really good actors, is because they just kind of buy into the fantasy, whatever it is that they're playing at that age, and they just are lost in it. I remember as a kid, I loved Superman. I put like a towel around my neck and kind of pretend like I was flying. In my mind, I was flying. That's essentially what you need to do as an adult actor. It's like Picasso said. He said he studied his entire life to learn how to paint like a child. You need to get the technique. You need to learn the craft. But once you learn the craft, you got to let it go and just experience the moment. And that's easy but challenging at the same time, because a lot of people get in their own way. They get in their own heads and they overthink. And it's like a baseball player that goes through a bad streak where he can't hit the ball. It's because they're overthinking it too much. They're breaking it down. They're thinking about, where's my foot? Where's my wrist? They're overcomplicating it, as opposed to just trusting that they're going to be able to do it. So trust is a big part of it. I think that's a kind of a long answer for your question as to how to get into the business. I want to be encouraging.
I appreciate it very much.
But I also want people to understand that they need to kind of really work hard. I mean, people come into a class, a voiceover class, and they think, a 6-week class, I'll be able to put together my demo, and I'm going to go out there and compete, and I'm going to work tons, and I'm going to be a successful voiceover actor. Tell me anything that you could do, that you could learn in 6 weeks, where you're going to be at the tip-top level, where you're going to be able to, where you'll essentially be world class. You can't be a real estate agent in 6 weeks. You can't do anything. If they wanted to teach you how to tar a roof, you're not going to learn that in 6 weeks. It doesn't matter. But people think that it should be easy because it looks easy. Well, it looks easy because the people that are the pros make it look easy.
There's actually a book, I don't remember the title, but there's something about a theory that it takes like thousands of hours to become an expert. That's what it takes. It's thousands of hours.
It's absolutely true. In fact, I think I know the book you're talking about. It's about Oh God, I even read the book. It was about how
It
to.
might
It
be
was about how to study,
Gladwell.
how to learn. It basically broke down the learning process. And one of the things they talked about was you need to, like for example, they said, why are all these great soccer players coming out of the slums in Brazil? Why aren't there more great soccer players coming out of the soccer academies? And they studied and they realized these kids, they don't have really great soccer balls to play with. Some of their soccer balls aren't fully inflated, so they're heavier than other balls. And the field that they play on is not really smooth and perfect, and the grass isn't great. So in other words, it's more challenging, it's more difficult for them to make a pass because they're dealing with a heavier ball on a surface that's really kind of crazy. So what happens is these kids practice that way. And then when it comes time to play on a field that's perfect with a ball that's totally inflated, it's super easy for them. But again, you've got to put in the hours. You got to put in the time because it's like peeling the layers of an onion. Yeah, you can maybe get to a point of where you have a couple of tricks that you can pull off and they're okay. But come on, is that going to sustain you? No. The challenge is getting deeper and deeper and deeper into it. And you're absolutely right. So, I just want people to understand that it is challenging, it is demanding, but it's also incredibly satisfying. It's like the Coen brothers, who I guess they're up for yet another Oscar for True Grit. When they won it a couple of years ago, they said, when we were 6 years old, we did a movie called Henry Kissinger, Man on the Run. I think that's what it was called. And they said, what we're doing now isn't all that much different. And it really is true, because they understood that passion, that excitement, that thrill, that joy that they had at 6 years old is integral to creating good work at the age that they are now. Now they've worked their butts off to learn their craft, but now they can. It's the same thing. It's setting up a camera and people doing make-believe, pretending to be something. It's when you boil it down, it's pretty silly. And when you think about it, it's fun to be silly. I mean, I'm an actor because what am I going to do? Am I going to go? I'm lacking in any other skill, so I'm kind of stuck in this profession. But it's okay. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. So I invite people, come out to Hollywood. Come on, man, give it a go. We need. I like going to these classes and having new students there, because there's this passion, there's this desire, this attitude and energy that they bring to it that a lot of actors that have been here for a while they lose. They kind of get they get lazy, they get bitter, they get whatever it might be. And I look at it and I think, why are they complaining about it? I get to, for example, I'm going up to San Francisco this weekend with Neil Kaplan and James Harper, who plays Manx, to do a convention animation on display. I'm looking forward to it. Neil and I are going to go to Australia in June for this convention called Supernova. We're going to Sydney and Perth, and we're going to meet people down there that obviously we would never have the opportunity of meeting up here in the States. What's not to like about that? And why not bring that to the fans? Let them know, hey, listen, man, I'm as big a geek, a nerd, a fan as you are. I'm not afraid to sound silly or be an idiot or, So we're all. I don't see myself as any different from anybody else in the grand scheme of things as far as the game is concerned. You may be a player and a fan. I'm just the guy that's the voice. We're all kind of doing this together, and going on this joyful ride and experience. So might as well have some fun while we're doing it, right?
Definitely. Well, at this point, I think we're going to wrap up the interview here, but I just wanted to say again, thank you for your time and all of the thoughtful things that you said today.
Oh, and Andrew, Raiders roll.
Raiders roll. All right.
I mean, you're the only person in an interview that hasn't asked me to do Jim Raynor. I'm shocked. I'm like, oh my God.
All right. Well, how about to close out this interview, you give me this is Jimmy.
This is Jimmy.
All right. Thank you very much.
That's one thing that everybody wants to be in the next game. I don't know if we're gonna do it or not. I'll have to talk to Chris, see if we can get another This is Jimmy in there.
Better push hard for it.
I will.
All right. Thank you for your time.
All right, Andrew.
Maybe we'll talk again sometime.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I enjoyed it.
All right.
Bye.